Hi, welcome back, or welcome if you have never seen me or my channel before. This is an odd place to start if so, but why not? This is an intermission from my usual programming. Last week I mentioned my next video was going to be about a connection between the feminists and the fascists, or about the feminists within fascism. And I'm working on that. I am working on that, but I soon realized that it is a lot more research than I expected. So I need a little bit more time to condense that mess of research that I have on a doc in bullet points. It'll take me a little bit more time to condense into a coherent video. So sorry about that, but it's okay. This is a break from the programming. So let's just talk. Between 2020 and this year, a lot has changed. First and foremost, in 2020, I felt this fire inside me that I have never felt before, and I have not felt since. It was related to politics and what people call the Great Awakening. For a couple of years before then, I had been, quote unquote, waking up politically, at least when it came to American politics. And I had been living in very, very, very liberal cities. Before then, before this wake up happened, I had inherent and full trust in American institutions and in the American media. Silly me, call me naive if you'd like, because I definitely was. But I had grown up with the idea that the US had it figured out, that the US had the most perfect system, and that everyone should just model them. Now, I have also lived in Europe before, so I did see cultural issues, and I prefer the walkability of European cities. And it's not because they're smaller, actually. Not just Bikes did a video about this. I might link it below. But and the food was good there. But I did not make any connections to any possible issues in the US, in the US system, or how it runs. And I just sort of accepted the fact, or the idea, that it might just be the case that these countries are just older, so they're more beautiful because of that. Now, in 2018, 2019, the trans stuff started becoming louder and louder. And frankly, the whole thing seemed absolutely ridiculous to me. The pronouns started being more of a thing, and I was being told that I was a victim as a woman, simply because I was a woman. And that became pretty common to hear. At the same time, I was reading these books about being able to control your life and your outlook and your perspective, and therefore your future. So victimizing myself because I'm a woman seemed a little bit contrary to these ideas. Yes, there are things that I have to deal with as a woman that most men cannot even fathom, and many of them do not care to understand. Now, I'm gonna bring up examples that are not extreme, because thankfully no extreme things have happened to me, so I hope people don't get offended by this. But something annoying, some annoyances that I feel like a lot of women have dealt with, like seeing a group of construction workers on the sidewalk and deciding to take a different street just because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the stares or the comments. 99% of the times, it's just annoying, okay? Or when I have to avoid certain projects or colleagues, because I know there's a subtle implication that if I join a team, the team leader thinks that he might have a chance with me. Hint, no. That they actually did a study on this, and David Buss talks about it in his book, Why Men, I think the book is called Why Men Behave Badly. I'll link it below as well. The men, more often than not, overestimate a woman's interest. And women, on the other hand, more often than not, underestimate men's interest. So if I have a hunch or intuition, I listen. Us women often have safety tactics to get us home safe, which most men don't even think about, don't even deal with. We avoid walking alone in certain areas or at night. Things like that. But as women, we also have a lot of good stuff. And again, I'm going to mention the most common example. People often open doors for me, offer to carry heavy items for me. I have gotten a lot of free cookies in my life. Yes, little cookies in coffee shops that I've just been offered when I want to just get one. I'll get two in the little bag I have. And on the other hand, men have their shares of issues. And I recognize that. But a lot of the times I don't know about those issues. I cannot truly understand them. And they also have their benefits in society. So I see it as a balance. There's zero reason for me to be engaging in gender wars. But I do know there is such a thing as men and women. So that, plus trans stuff, started me on a rabbit hole where I started listening to lots and lots of mainstream right-wing commentators. I say mainstream because they're mainstream. They're not the alt ones that you have to go on BitChute or what's the other one, Rumble to find, or the ones that are demonetized on YouTube. No, they're, I remember listening to Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder while on the subway in New York City, going to classes and working in the hotel industry. I felt like I was keeping a secret. I would come across people that thought similarly to me by an offhand comment or how their eyes reacted to a certain sentence, and it almost felt like a code. Like I had to figure out by these subtle signs who thought similarly to me and who didn't. Most people didn't, at least that's what I thought, especially living in New York City and LA. And in 2020, we were all at home, we were all locked up, so I started using TikTok a lot at the behest of my cousin. At first just to watch dance videos, but one day I made a TikTok about my thoughts on the protests that were going on in the summer of 2020. And suddenly my opinions and position were out in a very public way because that video went viral and it went on Fox News. I did not expect that. And I've talked about this before in another video. Friends unfriended me without a second thought, and complete strangers started calling me all kinds of things. This, all it did was create more of a combativeness in me. So I was like, F it. And I basically started rage posting for a year what I had been holding back for a couple years prior. And that gave me about 10,000 followers on Instagram. It was quite surprising. But then I hit a point that I took a break. I felt like I got things off my chest. And so I took a break, I rekindled friendships, I strengthened my relationship, and suddenly all of that seemed less urgent. Now, I studied international affairs and political science and communications in college, and therefore I have always had an interest in that stuff, given my background, given that I grew up listening to political talk constantly from my family, my friends. So it doesn't take away the fact that I still had an interest in these things in a historical context, but not to continue fighting things every single day. I still open my Instagram today and I see all these conservative Inc. accounts posting things to get people riled up and angry. And yes, there are things that we should be aware about. But honestly, I do not want to spend my day angry about a thing a politician said. I have family members that literally spend all day on Twitter just arguing with complete strangers. And tell me, what is the point of that? I'm over it. You have all that energy and you're using it for useless chatter. And instead, you could be using it to take a cold, hard look at your life and figure out why you're so obese, why you're so unhealthy, why you're not at the point in your life where you want it to be. Or go around and take a look at your community. See what could be improved instead of just looking at national politics. Not to say that that isn't important, but it shouldn't require 90% of your attention. You know, things that directly affect you should be more of your focus. That's my thoughts. I'm not talking about navel gazing like some community tends to do. No. Not talking about endlessly thinking about your own identity. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ways that you can improve as an individual. You can improve your family, your relationships, your community. I'm a firm believer that if everyone took action to improve their own life, the whole society would benefit. My husband sees people all the time at his medical residency. You know, people that are very sick and very obese, but who he believes do not want to help themselves. I'm not talking about everyone, but he often sees people like that. And these people, they expect the system to fix them, or at least it seems that way. But it doesn't work like that. Let me tell you, I found out a lot of things in 2020, 2021, some of which would get me banned on the internet for talking about them. But with all the inflammatory rhetoric going on online, it's like we forgot to talk to people in person and change minds that way. And also hear their perspective. This happens both ways. I'm still interested in history. I mean, I'm still planning on talking about history in a future video. You know, I'm interested in cover-ups, in conspiracy theories, in health and fitness even. I can get into all kinds of rabbit holes. Send me a thing about a trans person saying something ridiculous or outrageous. I couldn't care anymore. I couldn't care less. But maybe that's the point, right? Maybe I fell for it. Maybe it's because I'm jaded now, and that is the point, right? For everyone to be jaded. But I just don't think it is productive for us to be fighting about it, to be angry about it. It's better to be aware and strategic in your own life. You know, I'm over the constant whining and fighting over the smallest little detail in politics. It's exhausting. Inform yourselves, yes, but go on and live your lives. A lot of the stuff we see these days is fake. And not just these days. This has been going on for a long time. Planned, things that are planned for political support, false flags. This isn't new. There are major events in the 20th century orchestrated to get the public to act a certain way or to support a certain cause. Some of them still being milked to this day, events that are created and orchestrated to get the public to support joining a war effort. Among other things. It's healthy to have a bit of skepticism when it comes to the system. But also, don't drive yourself nuts. Listen to Jordan Peterson if you'd like, and at least clean up your room before you start to worry about the rest of the world. I hope that makes sense, guys. That was my little rant for the day. I'll see you next time. Cheers.